The jury is now deliberating in the Johnny Thomas bribery case, and just yesterday, the former Milwaukee County supervisor told his story on the witness stand.
Wade Michael Page shot himself in the head after the officer shot him in the stomach, and that's how he died.
This Harley-Davidson motorcycle spent the last year drifting throughout the Pacific Ocean after the devastating tsunami in Japan.
Well, if you love chowing down on salty hot French fries from your favorite fast food joint, you're definitely living in the right country for your craving.
Hospital officials tell us that 3 of them are in satisfactory condition, 1 of them in critical condition, but all of them expected to survive. A lot of people were really happy with the deals they found today, but if you didn't get out there this morning, don't worry. You have plenty of opportunities throughout the rest of the day. I'm going to join these guys to do some handstands. Why don't we do this, guys?
Oh my gosh.
Well, we asked her yesterday if she could do it, so let's
She is
see.
a former cheerleader, so.
Take a look. Here's how much snow we got. I step right in and you can see how far up it goes. I'm glad I have boots on. What at first appeared to be a deadly car accident here along Washington Street turned out to be a murder.
Lena Schneider woke up to the smell of smoke Sunday morning, and from there, it's a story of survival.
How do you manage on a day like this, Brittany?
I don't know. Stay inside, drink hot chocolate, stay in your warm bed, never leave it. That's what I would say to do. Run and give a high five. Woo! Go Brewers! Yeah!
It's hitting pretty hard.
Gabriel Adler grabbed 50 sandbags to stack up in front of his home.
Just want to make sure we don't get any flooding.
He's one of many people living along Carroll Beach with the same concern.
We just want to be safe.
You can see the rough waves of Lake Michigan here crashing behind me, and just how close they come to these homes. They're expected to reach heights of 18 feet.
This really would cause a lot of structural damage, infrastructure damage.
Crews have been working since Monday night, putting together more than 2,500 sandbags for the taking.
It takes a long time to make thousands of sandbags with the crews that we have.
Preparations even include a voluntary evacuation of the 267 homes along the shoreline.
We want to make sure we gave the people that could be affected enough time to make a decision, react, and then just kind of play it out and see what happens over the course of the day.
There's no reported damage yet, but Pleasant Prairie is prepared.
We're going to be prepared to push rocks off the road, to rebuild any sections of the road that would happen to go if it gets as bad as what they were saying yesterday.
It'll be interesting to see if the northeast wind keeps the actual remnants of Sandy at bay, so we'll see.
In Pleasant Prairie, Britni McDonald, CBS 58 News.
All of a sudden there was this big crash, and I just thought the second floor of the house was literally coming down.
Sheila Cunard was sitting on her couch in her living room here when the cement truck came crashing through this wall. Months later, and this is what it looks like. This is what remains on the home that should have been torn down months ago.
Her question now is, when will this nightmare be over?
Not a day goes by where I'm not looking at papers or calling somebody or writing a letter or something, and it's like, oh my God, you're my insurance company. Don't you want to do what's best?
The accident happened in August of 2011. 8 months later, and Sheila still doesn't have a home. In 3 months, the place she's now renting will no longer be covered by her insurance, and she'll have nowhere to go.
In the policies, they only pay for a place for 12 months.
The coverage under Sheila's insurance company, American Family, was better than the cement truck, so she decided to work with them. American Family declared her home a total loss and wrote her and her live-in boyfriend Walter a check 2 months later for more than $100,000. But it's a check she couldn't use. Written out to Bank of America, a mortgage holder she said she never had on the home. 2 more checks were then issued by American Family, still in the wrong name.
I said, now here's the new mortgage holder, and they still haven't made it out to the proper people yet.
For months, Sheila's been trying to get this resolved with American Family. Here's all of the paperwork she saved since the accident happened. And here's part of a conversation she recorded with an adjuster and an American Family attorney 4 months after the accident.
One of the things we are still waiting for, as you know, is the sworn statement and proof of loss, so it will be helpful.
You're right, that big hole in the front of the house doesn't show proof of loss.
We traveled to American Family's headquarters in Madison seeking answers. They declined an on-camera interview, but say the mortgage holders they listed on the checks were taken from the title report on her home. But Bank of America, who they wrote the initial check out to, was never on that report. They went on to say that they need official documentation if the mortgage holder changes. But their homeowner's policy with Sheila lists Statebridge Company as the mortgage holder, effective October 27th. Now here are the next 2 checks issued by American Family with later dates, one on October 28th, the next on November 2nd, with several mortgage holders listed, First Banking Center, Bank One, and Nation Star, none of them Statebridge.
Then I suggest you contact your attorney.
That's the advice from an American Family attorney during a visit to her home. So that's what she did. And Sheila's attorney says he can't believe it's gone this far.
American Family's obligation under Wisconsin law is to pay the people on the policy. That's Sheila, Walter, and Statebridge. They clearly are simply totally unwilling to concede that they made a mistake, and because of that, my people don't have a home. My people won't have a home for months.
But CBS 58 News has learned that Statebridge is in fact not a mortgage holder, but rather a mortgage servicing company. American Family agrees and says that's part of the problem here. There's still confusion over which mortgage holder should be on the check.
When the cement truck crashed into her living room, it wasn't just that room that was affected. It actually shifted the entire home off of its foundation. You can see here in the basement, rocks scattered all over the floor, cracks along the wall. The impact affected each story of her home. It completely destroyed it, a home that she'd planned on living in for the rest of her life.
If that man would have just been paying attention, this would have never happened.
American Family says Sheila's not been totally cooperative through this process, so they've taken it to court, where they say the mortgage companies, Sheila, and American Family will be brought together to resolve this issue.
It's ridiculous. I mean, that they're taking me to court because they say I'm not cooperating. There isn't anything we haven't done.
In Rochester, Britni McDonald, CBS 58 News.
It's good to be home. It's good to be home.
Where Paul Ryan once was a high school student is where he stood this morning as the Republican vice presidential candidate.
And I want to just tell you how proud I am to come from Janesville, Wisconsin.
He'll accept that nomination at the Republican National Convention this week in Florida.
Reapply those founding principles, reclaim the American idea, get people back to work, and get the American idea of prosperity and an opportunity society back on track, and that's exactly what we are going to do.
But not before being sent off in style by his hometown of Janesville, Wisconsin, and alma mater, Joseph A. Craig High.
He's a local hero, and it's incredible to just see him launched onto this national stage and to hopefully be able to see him go all the way to the White House.
You can see how many people, thousands, came out to support him and send him off to that convention where he is set to speak on Wednesday.
He's someone I honestly feel like I can trust, and that makes me feel good.
1% Ryan. But right outside were a group of protesters with a message of their own.
Money for jobs and education, not for banks and corporations.
I want to tell him that he's not on our side. He's on the side of the 1%. His budget will benefit corporations and rich people and leave middle-class people like me in the lurch.
Ryan's trip to the convention was delayed by Tropical Storm Isaac. He'll now be heading out on Tuesday. In Janesville, Britni McDonald, CBS 58 News.
A man opened fire outside of the Empire State Building this morning in a workplace dispute, and 2 people are dead. If you noticed that tactical situation in Wauwatosa Thursday, well, it turns out it all started with a fight between brothers. The John C. Cudahy YMCA has all the elements of a baseball game and more. Well, you're looking at another heartfelt message here from a 6 at their Temple in Oak Creek. This one welcoming home Lieutenant Brian Murphy, the officer who was wounded in the Temple shooting on August 5th. At the Temple today, they're starting a prayer vigil for peace. That'll last for 3 days. An update now to a story we told you about this morning out of Sheboygan. It turns out a woman made up a story about being abducted. Her visit will include a little politics and a message of love and support for the victims of the Temple shooting in Oak Creek. CBS 58's Stephanie Brown joins us now live from Bradley Tech, the First Lady's first stop in our area today. Stephanie? And new at noon, Amy Copeland, the Georgia girl who nearly died after she contracted a flesh-eating bacteria, is headed home. We were the only ones on scene to catch a hit and run right in the middle of downtown
in the middle of the day. 4 months since the luxury liner crashed off the coast of Italy's Giglio Island, and now the families of the final 5 people missing are getting some closure. More charges against a Madison couple accused of imprisoning and torturing their teenage daughter. Well, if you're a Brewers fan, and who's not, but tickets are a bit of a stretch for your budget, you'll want to know about this week's games at Miller Park. The deadline was extended because the usual deadline date, April 15th, fell on a Sunday this year. Milwaukee's new elected city leaders took their oaths of office today at City Hall. That includes Mayor Barrett, who won a new term in this month's election. He's also running for governor in the recall race against Scott Walker.